Privatization, the transfer of a business, industry, or service from public to private ownership and control. Privatization also describes the transition of a company from being publicly traded to becoming privately held. Recently in our country, the rate of privatization of public organizations has been increased. Post-independence India had been adopted a very conservative economy that was practically shut to the outside world. But as time went by, Indian leaders and economists recognized the need to merge with the global economy. The new industrial policy of 1991 was implemented, which contained several reform measures for a public sector. Some of them are selling of loss-making units to the private sector, inviting private participations in PSEs and strategic sale. The idea of privatization was to attain better economic stability. It is said that privatization is beneficial for the growth and sustainability of the state-owned enterprises. Privatization always helps in keeping the consumer needs uppermost. It helps the government pay their debts. It helps in increasing long-term jobs and promotes competitive efficiency and open market economy. Yes, privatization can help us to attain a better economic growth and which can lead to development. But do you know how effectively privatization is utilized in our country's growth? Do you know about its drawbacks? Mainly, privatization will make a rise in natural monopolies. A natural monopoly occurs when the most efficient number of firms in an industry is 1. For example, tap water has very significant fixed cost. Hence, there is no scope for having competition among several firms. In this case, privatization would just create a private monopoly which might seek to set higher prices which exploit consumers. Therefore, it is better to have a public monopoly rather than private monopoly which can exploit the consumer. There are many organizations in India which work on the basis of public interest, where profit is not the first concern. Example, healthcare, education, public transport and many more. These are meant to help our civilians, but when these are privatized as their motive, the primary objective is profit. The civilians won't be able to get a better service because in the private sector, their main principle is to attain maximum profit with minimum investment. It's not over yet. We could not keep privatization away from corruption for a long time. And corruption entering into private sector doesn't affect just an industry. It affects the entire supply chain as it distorts market, undermines competition and increases cost to firms, as said by United Nations. It prevents a fair and efficient private sector, reduces the quality of products and services, and leads to missed business opportunities. When it comes to employment, we discuss about the pros and cons of employment in privatization. In most of the countries, the worker don't have good taste towards privatizing the public organization. It is mainly because of the wage and consistency in their jobs. In the public sector, workers have guarantee of wages. But in private sector, as their primary concern is profit, they will always try to minimize their investment by cutting off wages, giving them less than what they deserve and sometimes even firing them off. Like many issues, privatization has two sides. The number one question that continues to linger is privatization good or bad? The individuals who are for privatization state that once a company is privatized, it will be conducted with more regard to its users. Those who are against it state that privatization has been accompanied by corruption scandals, environmental violations and a torrent of customer complaints. In conclusion, privatization is something to consider, but only with a skeptic's eye and an understanding that no matter what you sell and how you sell it to your community, any privatization effort is going to bring up a lot of problems and can be controversial. But, as said by Frederick Chiluba, Privatization is a bitter pill, but it is a pill that will cure.